was very interesting evening, wasn't it? I've never been in a room like that before. Because everyone's got. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. It is.
I think we only are missing Kennedy. Who are we waiting for, Cynthia? Or Cindy? Who are we waiting for? Are we waiting for Don or Patrick? Okay. Should we start?
Start on time.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Director Budge? Here. Director Harris? Here. Director Howell?
Here.
Director Hume may be a little late. Director Jennings also may be a little late. Director Kennedy is absent. Director Miller?
Here.
Director Natoli? Director Chenier?
Here.
Director Cerna?
Here.
Chair Hansen?
Here.
With
Director
the
Natoli
arrival
has
of
joined us.
Director Natoli, we have a quorum at 97 votes.
All right.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel. Tonight's meeting will air on March 12th at 9 a.m. and March 14th at 2 p.m. and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I didn't get a chance to ask her in advance, but our newest staff member, Sarah Kerber, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You don't have to. I could ask Tammy. What? Go. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nice job, Sarah. Sorry to scare you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the consent calendar, items 2.1 through 2.5, and you have a speaker on one of the consent items.
Mr. Tartagia on item 2.4.
Item 2.4, resolution approving the Third Amendment to the contract to provide and install fair vending machines with Scheit Bachmann USA, Inc.
Mr. Tartagia, welcome.
Jeff Tartagia, advocate. My question and concern is, since it's been so long since the original approval related to the blue line for the boxes, are these exactly the same as what's going on? The blue line is going to be going on the gold line. That's simply my question through there, to be sure that they are the same degree of compatible, because this did not go in the last year before the MAC again to see what was being prepared and planned.
Staff, do you want to answer that question if possible? Laura?
Yes, these will be the same machines being installed.
$10 million worth.
All right, thank you, Laura. And maybe going to the MAC and having a conversation about it would be helpful. I'll move consent. We have a motion for consent from Director Howell, a second from Director Budge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries unanimously.
Carries at 97 votes. Next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda, item 6.
I have two speakers on item 6. We have Mr. Copeland and Mr. Tartagia.
Well, I'm kind of confused. Why was last meeting I went to was only 2 minutes for public comment, and now it's 3 for this one? And why you canceled 2 meetings already? And this is early March. And as far as Measure A, I won't support that unless we get an audit of every agency, including RT, that's independent. And let's just say, when you try to fix a system, RT bus system, don't make it worse, what you've done with the Sacramento Forward. I think it's a worse bus system now than it was then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Mr. Tartagia.
Well, Jeff Tartagia. Again, one of the things I have been asked to is direct to the board some compliments. Guys, you need to see the things that are accountable. Right now, I will encourage our chairperson right now to make sure and check with the public works of the city and find out exactly what is the timing for regarding L Street. Right now, L Street is blocked off sidewalk-wise from 14th Street all the way to 10th Street, which means the 11th Street, which is your second for your airport bus stop, is unavailable. Like several meetings ago before, I mentioned what the website didn't have. And for the general manager, I thank you for the fact that you went way beyond in looking at accessibility, beyond there and finding all the fact that, you know, the, should we say, RP reports, let's see, what is it called? PFD, whatever, not Word, but the other reports, those are not accessible compatible. So you have a whole bunch of them that will need to be altered, changed if you're going to bring them up to accessibility. But again, I offer the solution is take many of the things, put them as a previous website, make sure that your things that you're putting out promoting are accessible, and your chats and your other things that you have them in a different, shall we say, box so that people can access them, but realizing that there's going to be a whole array of things, and for the future, doing some of the other things that benefit. I also mentioned and have not heard a conclusion about dealing with the 40 electronic bulletin boards that have come in, but I will also offer the comment right now to Lisa through there is I was at Archive Plaza today before coming here, and the electronic bulletin boards still gave no clue, and yet I knew that the gold line was apparently out of sync because it said on there and no train came by. But your operations came on and made the announcement that there is problems on the blue line and that there's a 15-month time delay plus. Electronically is not, but they did make, I do not know whether that went to all the PA systems or just the Archive Plaza. But it's something I hadn't heard before happen. Another incident that occurred that I offer as a compliment to your driver is we had a 38 bus driver at 29th Street, and we had a blind individual that got on board the wrong way. Actually, one of the students assisted this person to get back across 30th Street because they needed to go to the 29th Street bus stop over there by the food co-op. It delayed a few things, but that was a major accommodation that I think was handled, so thank you for some of the training.
Thank you, Mr. Tartagia. All right, Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item, new business, item 7.1, resolution amending and restating Title III of the Sacramento Regional Transit District Administrative Code relating to rules of procedure. The report is in your binder and open for discussion.
Is there a staff presentation?
There is not.
So a couple board members had requested this, but I also know there are a couple board members who also don't want it. So at this point, I think it's up to the board whether we continue the item, remove the item, or pass the item. So I'll turn it over to Director Budge, who would like to speak, and Director Cerna. Director Budge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very much opposed to this. From my perspective, any person who is chairing a meeting, regardless of their title, has the ability to limit the amount of public contact, public speaking to a certain point, based on the number of people there are, or as is done sometimes, to bundle like comments together where a group of people would get 5 minutes to make a presentation or something like that. From my perspective, putting this into a formal policy or changing regional transit policy is a very bad precedent. 3 minutes is common in jurisdictions throughout this region, in public meetings throughout this region. It sends the message that public comment is not as important to regional transit as it is to other meetings. And it's, as has been pointed out, if there were a need to limit comment even further, people would have a minute, which would not be adequate to express a thought. We, as the approval authority, always have the right and the obligation to disagree with what's said to us. But what's said here in this group, in this body, is always polite and respectful, and it's worth our attention. We reserve the right, obviously, to disagree with what's said to us, but the idea of limiting public comment to an official 2 minutes, from my perspective, is completely the antithesis of the Brown Act and our obligation to run public meetings.
Director Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I agree with some of the comments by Director Budge, and I do agree that that this is unnecessary. And I would just add that in addition to the rationale that was just mentioned, these proceedings compared to Sacramento City Council, at least, and Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, and I could speak less about some of the other city councils. I think we typically, on average, have much fewer people here that are speaking in any event, and that combined with the fact that any board member can make a request to hear further from folks simply would put board members in a very strange place, assuming that you'd have some people that are disgruntled or don't agree with the 2 minutes but want to continue. You'd have, in some instances, perhaps board members making a request of the chair, despite who the chair might be at that time, to let that person speak. And so I think, practically speaking, it puts us in a awkward position. So I'm not prepared to support the 2 minutes. I think, as was mentioned, 3 minutes is a standard in our region for public testimony. And if, by chance, we do have very large groups that fill these chambers at times to address the board, certainly the chair, I think, still has at his or her discretion the ability to modify the time limit for speaking, so that, of course, everyone has an opportunity to address the board that chooses to address the board. And I suspect that would continue as a kind of an unwritten rule for the discretion of the chair. So, again, I won't be supporting 2 minutes this evening.
Director Natoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just echo the comments of my two colleagues who have spoken previously as it relates to the 2 minute provision. I would just simply say that I think this within the chair's discretion, and if we have a large contingent, and we try to be mindful of not only this board's time, but certainly of the public that's here to address this, we can adjust that accordingly. And for my 20 plus years on this board, that's worked very well for all folks that have chaired and certainly members of this board. But the other piece I wanted to speak to that I think provides a bit of an inhibiting factor to public comment, and that's the piece that's in there that relates to all speaker cards must be submitted prior to the item being called. I get it that we try to adjust time, and it's certainly helpful for the chair and for anyone else to know, and our clerk who has to receive those cards. But I would just say that folks may come here not certain if they're going to speak to an item, and we also we make that call to folks. But people who certainly on the spur should be able to, again, not to unnecessarily lengthen hearings by people submitting them in, trickling them in. But I think that puts speakers as potential speakers at a disadvantage. And so, again, I think obviously the chair and the clerk can make it known that you should try to submit that in advance about really do we have too many of those trickle in. And so I certainly don't intend to support the 2-minute maximum, nor do I support that all the cards have to begin prior to the item being called. Thanks.
Director Hall?
I agree entirely with what Don just said about the 2 minutes and about the speaker cards, because if somebody gets here a couple minutes late, or if somebody from the public makes a comment, there have been times when the board members didn't have the answer, and I think sometimes there have been people in the audience that could provide the answer to the question that was being asked, and I think that's helpful. And I think the chair has discretion on all of these items. So,
I didn't hear any motion or anything, but we have 4 members of the public who want to speak on this. I don't, yeah, Mr. Vice Chair?
No, I said 2 minutes. I'm just kidding.
Mr. Copeland?
Why are you trying to run this like city council meetings? Sacramento City Council. That's what they do. 2 minutes, and you guys put your speaker card in before you can even, before the matter goes on before they talk about it. Wrong way to do business. And I bet it's one of the Sacramento City Council members that's proposing this. I wasn't going to be here. I didn't want to be here at this. I was going to be at the Poor People's Campaign, but this agenda item made me come here. I agree with Director Bush, Director Howell, both county board members, Natoli and Cerna. They've got it right. Whoever proposed this got it wrong. This is a bad precedent. It's not going to work. People are going to be in uproar like they do with Sacramento City Council members. You know how that goes, Steve Hansen, where the people want to speak and they can't speak because they get there a few minutes too late. That's happened to me quite a bit. I don't like what is being proposed. Scrap it.
Thank you. Mr. Tartagia?
Jeff Tartagia, and I bring this up because, again, I think you understand well, this is the very limited time that you get to hear public comment about areas of concern. And many times, as even you've seen with me, I don't get to explain in even 3 minutes all the many things that I could talk about. But, the other side would be is if you're going to make it a 2 minute, I can do as Jay Schneer knows, is say I'll speak to every single item on your agenda because you are making it, 2 minutes. But you want the public to speak. You want to hear the concerns, and you've had very few times that you've exceeded 30 minutes, except the topic of which it's going to be at the focus of and the matter of. But this is your time where hopefully we can help you be more accountable and do the matters that you need to do as a board and the public is concerned about.
That was 1 minute. Good job, Jeffrey. Tammy Dramer. And then after Tammy, our last speaker is Helen O'Connell.
Hi, my name is Tammy Dramer, and I'm here to express umbrage on behalf of the Sacramento Transit Riders Union at the proposal to reduce the speaking time an opportunity from 2 minutes from 3. Although that we know that you have the right within the Brown Act to limit speaking time to a time that is reasonable, we argue that 2 minutes for a complicated transit issue is impossible to do and is unreasonable. We also object because a lot of transit-dependent people are people who present with physical and cognitive disabilities, many speaking haltingly and slowly. Others may need more time to get to their point or to the issues that they care about across to you. So we ask that you do not pass this proposal. And I also am curious if it went before the MAC board before it came here.
Thank you, Ms. Dramer. Helen, you're the last speaker. Do you want the microphone? We can have it. Yeah.
Helen O'Connell. I think limiting the time to less than 3 minutes is putting an undue burden on people that, like Tammy said, have cognitive disabilities or physical disabilities, and that would negate a lot of people that use your system, and that would make it unfair. And we're all about inclusion, not limitation, and excluding people. The time limit, I think, at 3 minutes is reasonable and fair, and it can be adjusted as needed when there's more people talking, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But to make it 2 minutes mandatory and to make people turn in their paperwork before the meeting starts all the time is a little bit too strict and should be not voted on. And I believe that that should keep the time the way it is so that people will have a chance to voice their opinion in the full sentences. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. We don't have a motion from the board, so I don't know if there's a motion to withdraw the item or I don't know what's appropriate.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to withdraw the item from Director Cerna, second from Director Budge. Any other further comments from the board? I don't see any. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes to withdraw the item. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, item 8.1, General Manager's Report.
Good evening, Chair Hansen, members of the board, and the public. In light of coronavirus news, I would like to begin my report by updating all of you on the proactive actions SACRT has taken to ensure our riders feel secure and safe. The SACRT team treats the virus extremely serious and has been working with the unions, public health agencies, and all stakeholders to proactively take the following actions. First, we sanitized our bus and light rail vehicles every night. Second, during the flu season, trains and buses are fogged to sanitize every couple of weeks. Now, with the discovery of coronavirus, we're increasing that practice to every other day, and soon, with enough suppliers, we're going to do that every day, not every other day. Third, and for our employees, we provide timely notices with guidelines to follow as provided by the CDC, along with state government, City of Sacramento, and the Sacramento County Department of Public Health. And we start a daily task force meeting to closely monitor the situation, even including weekend days. And we are going to encourage some staff to work from home if their family members or themselves have, some symptoms. And or, if they have child care, issues like Elk Grove School Unified School District, they canceled the service, they canceled the school classes, and we're going to say how we can support those employees to take care of their child, and we will continue to be vigilant and take aggressive steps to ensure the safety and provide information to our employees and the writing public in a timely basis. Please take a moment, to watch the following news segments covering the fogging of our buses and show on different news medias.
It's called fogging. KCRA got a look at what's happening inside the more than 300 buses and nearly 100 light rail vehicles owned by SAC-RT.
With the recent outbreak in the coronavirus, we wanted to make sure our riders feel secure and safe while riding public transit.
The company has stepped up its sanitizing efforts because of growing concerns about the spread of the new virus. Typically done once every 3 weeks, this fogging process is now being done once a week.
It's tablets placed in water, creates a 400 part per million solution, and then we use the fogger just to dissipate it. It's the transport medium. So the idea is not to soak things down, it's just to lightly wet the surface.
The process takes up to 7 minutes on a bus, 10 minutes on a train, then about 30 minutes for the solution to dry. When it's complete, the chlorine dioxide has killed the germs.
The safety of our riders and our employees is our top priority, and so we want to do that and make sure that our vehicles are clean.
In addition to the weekly fogging, buses and light rail vehicles are cleaned by hand every night. Drivers have been given hand sanitizer and sanitation wipes. Masks and gloves are also available for them. In Sacramento, Brandon Cummings, KCRA 3 News.
Okay, let's just, Adam, no need to run others. We have multiple others, this type of news medium. That was happening middle of last week. Now we're fogging more.
Mr. General Manager, Director Cerna wanted to.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, Henry, if that was all that you were going to say this evening about coronavirus, but as a member of the County Board of Supervisors up here now, though, only one apparently, I just wanted to use the opportunity to let people know that they can go to saccounty.net, and there'll be a first banner that you will see at the lead page. Will have the latest on what is happening with our public health system and how we are working to address containment, and now we're moving from containment to mitigation. There was a recent public bulletin that was put out this afternoon, so I'd encourage everyone to please go to saccounty.net and certainly scroll through all the information. You'll learn a lot, not just about some of the common sense ways to minimize transmission potential, but you'll understand a little bit further what roles our public health system is engaged in with other local agencies. There was a lot of activity, obviously, over the weekend as it relates to schools, but this is a good kind of one-stop location for the public to learn the latest information, so I'd encourage you to go there.
And I would just say Director Natoli had to leave to meet with the County Health Department, so everybody's on it.
Okay, thank you, Director Cerna. Continue my report. This Thursday, the STA, Sacramento Transportation Authority, will vote to place a transportation measure on the November ballot. SAC-RT has been very, very active, engaged. All of our board members and the staff been very actively engaging with the STA and all key partners, such as like a Smart SACMove Coalition, and even with the Alliance for Jobs, to help the STA reach an optimal and balanced expenditure plan. The plan calls for a half-cent sales tax that would generate about $8.4 billion in next 40 years, of which $3 billion will be for SAC-RT. This funding is critical to the future of this agency, and as you can see on this slide, SAC-RT would get approximately $75 million annually and would fund a number of critical activities. If passed, the expenditure plan will first provide about $500 million in capital fund that SAC-RT would use to leverage over $1 billion in state and federal funds. That means at least $1.5 billion capital cost or capital funding for this region. Secondly, SAC-RT will be able to expand our service by as much as 30%, the actual operations service. And also, we will be able to continue the students' free ride program. As you know, our right now the funding, just 1 year funding for students free ride. And our February last month's ridership number increased by 14%, bus increased by 21%, light rail increased by 7.5%, largely due to the free students program. With this funding, with the Measure A funding, we will be able to do this in the next 40 years without going to cities and the school districts and the county for funding for this program. And also, we will be able to offer discounted fare to seniors. The discounted fare will be as low as less than $1. Our regular fare may be reduced from $2.50 to less than $2 or $1.50. That would be a huge benefit for our riding public. And also our Smart Ride program will continue with a dedicated funding because our current funding from the STA only allows us to provide 2 years worth of service. With this funding, the Measure A funding, we will be able to continue the service for the next 40 years. Now we are line zones. We have line zones, and we might expand the line zones to 12 zones in the future. And of course, our state of good repair will be a major, major focus. Replacing our aging light rail vehicles, aging infrastructure, and the bad shape of our facilities and others are the top priority for this agency. If we are not able to get additional local funding, the district will be faced with some difficult choices. In the last 20 or 40 years, we have never have local funding to set aside for our vehicle replacement and other state of good repairs. And normally, for normal transit agency, 30% of the funds should be used for the state of good repair. You have to have buses, you have to have light rails and infrastructures to run your service. But since we have not done so in the past, this means we have to, if we do not have this money, we have to allocate the regular service funding for the state of good repair. That is not thinkable. It's unthinkable to reduce the service level for the state of good repair. So this is so important for us to have this Measure A money. We're going to have more next slide, and Adam. Now we're going to have more update to the public and to the board once we get more information. Next topic is about our APTA at-will award, and I want to just thank our marketing team and all staff that was instrumental in the success of SACRT Forward. In later February, as part of American Public Transportation Association's Marketing and Communication Conference, SACRT's team took first place nationwide for our comprehensive outreach campaign for SACRT Forward. And the competition was very, very tough, but we won the first place. As you all know, we comprehensively redesigned our bus network and launched the new service on September 8th of last year. While most agencies experienced ridership loss initially after implementation, when waiting for riders get accustomed to new routes and schedules, SACRT actually see a 10.6% increase in bus ridership since September 1st. And while a great deal of the growth can be attributed to our Students Ride Free program, we intentionally redesigned our network to also better connect with our schools. And this is tremendous news, and once again, congratulations to Deborah, Jessica, and the entire SACRT team for the great job the team did. To conclude my report, I would like to invite staff to make a couple of presentations. First, we will receive an update on SACRT's performance on Elk Grove Transit contract service. We built some great professional relationship with Elk Grove leadership team. Tonight, actually, Elk Grove Transit Manager Michael Costa is here too. Mike? And now after that, we will receive updates from 3 positions that ensure accountability at this agency. These 3 positions all have dotted line to board. And these 3 positions are SACRT's General Counsel, Internal Auditor, and Equal Employment Opportunity Officer. So with that, the podium is yours.
Hi, good evening, Chair Hansen, members of the board. My name is Jamie Adelman. I'm the AVP of Finance and Treasury, and I was the project manager over the Elk Grove service transition. And I have here with me tonight Carmen Alba. She's our AVP of Operations, and she's ultimately overseeing all the service that we're providing in Elk Grove right now. So just big picture, last year, right around this time, the board approved the contract with Elk Grove. So 1 year, here we are. We actually started in earnest the transition process around April 1st. So within 3 months, we hired 97 employees and we fully transitioned the service. It was a smooth transition. We saw no break in any kind of service to riders. And also a very important point is that the employees saw no break in medical benefits. We were able to work it out so that everybody had medical with their previous employer up until the day of transition and then started fresh with us on July 1st with no break. Throughout the first 6 months, I'll talk about some milestones and accomplishments that we had. So again, we had a seamless startup, and then we also provided support to Elk Grove's FTA triennial audit. So we were a brand new service provider, but we were able to step in and provide support to the city of Elk Grove where needed throughout that process. We hosted multiple employee appreciation events to reach out to all of our Elk Grove employees at the remote location. We've had 2 quarterly executive meetings with the executive staff of both the city and SACRT, and we had a CHP inspection in which SACRT received a satisfactory rating. Finally, we have ongoing weekly operations meetings, and in those meetings, I think SACRT provides an extra level of service that the previous provider wasn't giving. Every week, we have 2 directors, 2 AVPs on site for the ops meeting to ensure that the city is fully supported. And as needed, we bring on additional support from either our AVP of IT, our VP of Operations, or other departments as needed. So in January, the city of Elk Grove wanted to get a pulse of what the riders were thinking about the service that SACRT was providing. So they did a customer survey outreach event. And SACRT actually helped facilitate this survey by providing support from our street team. And we had our street team members actually out on the local routes, helping facilitate the survey and asking questions and getting feedback from our customers. So the 3 categories that we have here are the local service, our commuter service, and then our paratransit e-van service. And you can see here that on each of them, I've provided the overall satisfaction, the highest score, and the lowest score. So you can see on the local, we had a 4.19 out of 5 overall satisfaction. The commuter service is a 3.32 out of 5, and the paratransit e-van service is a 3.46. On average, across the board, we scored about a 73%, which is good for transit service. So I just wanted to highlight some of the really good ones on here. You can see safe driving and performance, driver courtesy and helpfulness, and then safe driving and performance. Those were things that we really wanted to focus on with Elk Grove, were customer service and reliability of service. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carmen.
Good evening, Chair Hansen, members of the board. I'd like to talk about the first 6 months, the key performance indicator, and what our results are. I'll begin with fixed route service. Ridership is up 5.1%, and what that means is over that 6-month period, we transported 19,000 additional passengers. On average, we transport 67,462 a month, so we were happy about our ridership being up. Revenue hours are also up 1%, and that represents 282 hours. And the reason that's important is because we're providing more service. because we are there are less missed trips and cancellations. In fact, to the tune of 59%. In the same time period, the previous contractor had 49 missed trips. We reported 20 missed trips. And a missed trip, by the way, is 30 minutes plus to the late to the first stop. So we're really proud of that. And finally, passengers per hour, which is another very important KPI, increased 4%, and it went from 13.30 to 13.84. So I'll move on to next slide, please, which is the EVAN paratransit service. Ridership is pretty flat. It increased 0.6. Oh, thank you. In 6 months, we increased that by 10,000 passengers. Revenue hours are down. That means a savings to Elk Grove. So in the 6-month period, there were 218 revenue hours that were billed to Elk Grove. And that allowed us to get our passengers per hour up to 3.9%. Previously, in that same time period last fiscal year, it was 1.46, and this time around it was 1.52. That means we're more efficient with our service. On-time performance was 96%. Typically, you'll see for a good a KPI anywhere from 92 to 95. In the last quarter, we finished strong. October and November were 96, and December was 97% on-time performance. And finally, denials was 0. This is, I think, the one we're most proud of. The previous contractor, I was able to get a sample of 3 months, and there were 65 in 3 months period, or 22 a month. We had 0 the entire 6-month period, which, by the way, is an FTA requirement, and we met 100% of trip demand. Now, we do have some goals that I'd like to share. Some of those goals are to reduce late trips. A late trip is 5 minutes or more late to the first time point. And that's our goal for fixed route. In EVAN, we'd like to eliminate excessively long trips. And the reason I bring that up is because we did see an increase there compared to the previous contractor. But the way we see it is we'd rather our passengers ride just a little bit longer if the result is going to be 0 denials, which is, again, that was our goal, to keep that. And finally, another target that we're hoping to meet is one of our challenges there is to keep staffing at 100%. We've managed to get very creative, work with our union on making sure we meet service. But one of the reasons that's challenging is 33% of our bids are part-time, and that's because there's heavy commuter service there. So I wanted to share our successes, but I also wanted to share some of our goals. That concludes our report. We're happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any of the board members who wish to speak, so thank you for your time. Thanks for the hard work, and keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Olga.
Thank you. I printed it large enough so I could read it without my glasses. Good evening, Chair Hansen, board members, and members of the public. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Olga Sanchez Ochoa, and I am the General Counsel at Sacramento Regional Transit District. I am going on my 17th year here at SAC-RT, and I started as an attorney 3 and have slowly worked my way up the ranks. And this evening I was asked to provide the board with an update of the projects and issues my department has been working on and will focus on this year. First, a brief summary of the legal department. Presently, the legal department has 2 staff members, myself and a senior paralegal. Together, we work hard to provide support to all agency departments, and our function can best be described as twofold. The first slide, please. The first is to help ensure that SAC-RT is compliant with applicable statutes, regulations, ordinances, and guidance from oversight agencies. And the second is to help SAC-RT develop legally compliant business practices and process improvements to achieve business efficiencies agency-wide. In late February, you received a synopsis of all the projects my office is currently working on through the general manager. Next slide, please. As you can see by the slide, we are involved in numerous projects across the agency. While I'd like to say that this is a comprehensive list, it is not exhaustive of all the potential places where we're asked to help or provide advice or other legal assistance. but rather than go through all of the various areas I highlighted, I'm going to focus on 4 different areas that I've been working on this year. Next slide. The first is paratransit transition support. For the better part of 7 months, I've been working very closely with the paratransit service transition team at SAC-RT to provide legal support on the transition to SAC-RT of ADA and non-ADA service from Paratransit, Inc. We've been providing assistance with issues related to procurements, labor and employment issues, staffing levels, transition of employees, and funding, marketing, and other issues that have arisen during the transition. In addition, we provided assistance to staff as they work towards obtaining CTSA designation by providing legal advice regarding the requirements for CTSA designation and the process to secure such designation. The second is the Litigation Advisory Committee. SAC-RT's legal department was tasked by the general manager to work with SAC-RT's risk department to create a litigation advisory committee to help advise the general manager on how best to manage personal injury tort claims filed against SAC-RT. Currently, SAC-RT's personal injury tort claims are handled by the senior attorney that is assigned to manage the risk department, and she reports to the CFO. The senior attorney is the only in-house litigator employed by SAC-RT, and she's responsible for all PI claims. To assist her in evaluating cases and to assist the general manager in managing the program, the legal department is in the process of establishing a litigation advisory committee, which will consist of an outside attorney specializing in tort litigation, an employment law litigator from Jackson Lewis, and myself. The goal is to provide an independent set of eyes on each case to offer support to in-house counsel and to the general manager. Third is the review of all contracts to ensure legal compliance. The general counsel is responsible under the procurement ordinance and for purposes of certifying SAC-RT's eligibility to obtain federal and state grants to approve as to legal form all contracts executed by the GM and/or the board chair. The senior attorney in the procurement department drafts all contracts and prepares them for final approval. After she completes the agreement and reviews it initially, it comes to our office and I review and approve them for final execution. And finally, advise all departments regarding employee discipline and employee-related claims. Historically, the legal department has not been involved in employee discipline. Generally, employee discipline is handled by labor relations in conjunction with the department in which the disciplined employee is employed. The general manager has directed that this change and that legal be more closely involved in discipline throughout the process to help guard against employment-related tort claims. Consequently, I've been brought into the process and will advise all departments regarding employee discipline and employee-related claims. In closing, the legal department is a very efficient department that strives to assist management in achieving its goal of adopting and implementing business practices and process improvements that are legally compliant and that will result in business efficiencies agency-wide. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. Do any board members have questions? Doesn't look like it. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our internal auditor report.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and the members of the board. My name is Jack Hutchinson. I'm the district's internal auditor, and thank you for the opportunity today to update the board on the activity of the internal audit since I joined the district back in October of 2019. And before actually getting to the specifics of the internal audit activity, I'd like to spend a few seconds on the nature of the internal audit position here at the district. So my position is responsible for conducting risk assessments and audits in order to ensure the integrity and the efficiency of district operations in compliance with the federal, state, and local rules and regulations, which includes the laws. And this purpose of the position is definitely in line with the definition of internal auditing activity as defined by the Institute of Internal Auditors, if I can bring that up. There we go. And it is always a good business practice, especially for the internal auditors, to follow the rules and the suggested practices by the Institute of Internal Auditors. And And of course, the Institute of Internal Audit is an organization that establishes the auditing standards for the internal auditors to follow, just as the GAO, Government Accountability Auditor, does the same for the public auditors. And that is a high-level overview for the comments that I'll be making about a certain specific internal audit activity since October of last year. And with that bit of a background, I'll move on to a...
Could I just ask you one quick question? One
Absolutely.
of the earlier public commenters who left said that we don't have an external independent auditing firm, and I believe that's not true, that we do annually have an audit of our financial statements from an outside independent auditor. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. And I'll quickly add to that that we do get visits from the federal, the independent auditors on the financial statement, which includes the review of our federal assistance, which is often referred to as a single audit. Okay. And that gets audited annually as well. And if there are any questions or the findings on those areas, obviously the CFO would be responsible for mitigating some of those risks.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Steve, just to add to that, I believe that each one of the I have my card up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Sorry.
I believe each one of the member agencies also has the same exact situation.
Absolutely. Public agencies are required
Yes.
to be independently audited, and we call it a CAFR at the city, and I think that's what we call it here.
Right.
Certified
comprehensive, yeah,
annual
financial reports.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Director Howell. Go ahead.
So with that bit of a background as to the internal audit activity here at the districts, I'll now move on to the list of projects that I've been working on since, again, I joined the district back in October of 2019. And during the last quarter, the internal audit engaged management to conduct two different activities, which are represented as the top two line item on this slide. And the first one was a review of district-wide safety policies and procedure for their design effectiveness. And a second engagement is what we others refer to as a consultation service engagement, where I work with the management to identify any sort of improvement opportunities. And to the extent that there are improvement opportunities, then I suggest the ways to bring those opportunities to realization. And those two engagements are estimated to be complete sometime in the third quarter. And as for the remaining items on this slide, those are the new projects on which that the internal audit has recently started doing some preliminary work. And those three projects are estimated to be completed at the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2020. So in addition to these current projects, internal audit has also been updating its district-wide risk assessment. And according to the assessment that there are some opportunities for internal audit to conduct some additional reviews in the remaining month of the calendar year 2020, which are listed in this slide. And that pretty much concludes my presentation today, and I welcome any comments or questions that the board may have.
Thank you. I don't see any directors who wish to speak, so thank you for your work. It's a very important function, and it's a pleasure to see you before the board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have our EEO update, semi-annual update.
Good evening, Chair Hansen and directors, and members of the public as well. My name is Kim Holman, and I'm the Equal Employment Opportunity Officer for Regional Transit. I would like to take this time to introduce the newest member to my department of what used to be one is now expanded to two.
That's doubling.
Congratulations.
I know, 50%.
Tell us your name.
This is Greg Walters. He's the new Equal Employment EEO Specialist. He's been with us since October 1, and Greg has been instrumental in providing a number of, assistance in a number of areas since he's joined the program. He's provided monitoring activities, investigations. He's conducting the subrecipient oversight of our Paratransit program. He's assisting in the preparation for the upcoming 2021 FTA audit. He's performing concurrence on the hiring and the review of all recruitment and selection activity. And he's working with our NeoGov program, which is a new applicant tracking system that we now have that we're benefiting from. And he's collecting data on a number of reporting activities. And he consults with staff and members of management, and he's fit in very well, and he's been well received, and I really appreciate.
Thank you.
his
welcome,
assistance.
Greg. Have you been recruited yet to our basketball and volleyball team?
I don't come cheap.
Noted. Noted.
So anyway, the Equal Employment Opportunity Program is a results-oriented program that is designed to pursue compliance with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as well as the FTA Circular 4704.A, to ensure that all that we do here at SAC-RT protects individuals from discrimination based on their protected categories: race, age, color, ethnicity. There's about 17 of them if you want me to go through, but I don't think you do. So you can go. Is it right here for me? Yeah. Okay. So what we have here are the 7 program components of the Equal Opportunity Program, but in layman's terms, it is more like day-to-day investigations, outreach, training, preparing for the Equal Employment Opportunity Affirmative Action Plan, monitoring, analysis, and reporting in an ongoing basis for current and future projects. On the day-to-day, right now we have 1 internal complaint and 1 external complaint, which is far below 1% of our current employee count. So I think we're doing pretty well in that area. And Greg has been very useful there too, because we've been able to address more of the complaints and get through them faster. For the outreach, we participate in job fairs. We've expanded our recruitment through the implementation of the NeoGov applicant tracking system. In the training area, we're focusing on the newest state legislation, which is Senate Bill 1343, and that requires that before 12/31/2020 that we train all non-supervisory employees within the agency with a minimum of an hour of anti-harassment, sexual harassment training. We are moving forward on that, and we are our expectation is that we're going to do that through e-training, which we think will be interactive, because interactive is part of the process or part of the requirement, and it'll be I think more expedient, and we'll be able to reach everyone now through that. We are preparing for the upcoming EEOAP, and the monitoring, the analysis, and the reporting is ongoing. We've just completed our utilization analysis and our goal setting for 2020 fiscal year. We have participating, or we're currently working on the annual vacancy projections to identify staffing needs and how to utilize our recruitment and selection strategies and how they might apply to allowing us to increase in those underutilized areas of recruitment. And we have, by the way, I'm sure you're aware that the females is one area that we always fall behind in. They're a difficult area to recruit in, and we've made significant strides in hiring and increasing our female count in our service area. And what other area do you recall? Trades. Yeah, our service and our trades, which is a really hard area to recruit women in. So current activities, we're on the cusp of completing our self-identification survey, and that survey which is a 5-year requirement. Every 5 years we're required to conduct this survey and establish a new count for disabled and protected veterans. Across the board, the standard is 7%. I think we will raise our numbers, but we will still fall somewhere between, on the average of 3 to 4% in each category. That's a tough area to meet the numbers, especially when you have as small a workforce as we do here at SAC-RT. The subrecipient monitoring, we're doing that now. And I've already spoken about the training in SB 1343. Those are some of our current activities. The future projects that we're looking at a compensation or an equity analysis that will be is part of the Equal Pay Act. We're trying to be compliant with that, and that will be a study of individuals by classification, gender, and ethnicity. And we want to make sure that across the board that we're equitable in that respect and also compliant. We're still looking at creating and implementing and distributing to all employees an EEO manual as well as an ADA manual. That's not something we have, and I think that that would be something that would be most beneficial to all of the employees. We are also looking to, through automation, improve our internal communications with management. More internal reporting, more graphs, more numbers, more metrics, so that we can better understand our performance with regards to our compliance requirements. And we're also looking at working with HR to create interview training panels so that we can be better equipped to select the best individuals that we can and also meet all of those requirements. And also we're looking at exit interviews, creating a system of bringing back our exit interviews so that we can figure out what we're doing well and what we need to do better. And that is just a brief overview of our current and some of our future projects, or projects that we're looking at completing and working on this year. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Holman. Do we have any board members who want to ask a question? Mr. General Manager?
I just wanted to, before I conclude our reports, just want to acknowledge Sheila Latin, our IBEW business rep, is here along with some of her union members. Hey, welcome you guys here.
Welcome,
and why
IBEW.
Well,
I was wondering who these folks were. That I saw an IBEW shirt, but look like good folk.
Yeah, that concludes my final report.
Thank you so much. I guess we have the cap quarter report in our packet, unless somebody would like to speak on that. Zachary.
Discussion about climate change.
Yeah.
All right. We have one member of the public signed up to speak on the general manager's report, Mr. Tartagia.
Jeff Tartagia. To the general manager, I thank you for sending some SAC-RT and some SACOG pulling up some of these capital hearings. One on dealing with putting the brakes on transportation emissions, and another one dealing with mobility options. I encourage and think that that's important for you to be aware of what's happening and changing and going on. I want to also alert to the flyers, as well as also thank you guys for putting out the Census Bureau information. That I think is doing an excellent outreach. Yes, I'm one of your Sacramento Census ambassadors, as well as many other functions. The other thing that I would ask for is, through the chair, is can you look at some of the pilot projects, and before you cancel another meeting, schedule some of the pilot projects that have been around for more than a year, that reassess, reevaluate, look at. You've got right now the fact of that you're going to be in August receiving some low floor light rail vehicles, and the configuration, to my knowledge, has not been seen. The 4 to 8 inches that things need to be raised up in light rail stations and other activities, I think this board needs to know about before it happens in August. Also, since you did not last year invite the IT individual, there's a number of projects through there that have changed and happened, and would encourage, if you in the summertime hold once again a workshop or something else, that you might look and see what are some of the projects that are out there in trying to get Wi-Fi on light rail vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Tartagia. Thank you, Mr. Tartagia. We'll work with staff on getting updates available on the pilots. I don't have any other folks signed up on this. Board comments, ideas, Director Miller.
Yeah, thank you. And Jeffrey, you made me think of this. We're getting an update on the Smart Ride in the Citrus Heights area on Thursday evening at our city council meeting. at 7 p.m., so. Okay, that'd be great. If not, we'll let you know what happened.
Anyone else? I have one update. The Yolo County Transit District has asked us to form a 2x2 with them, and I'd like Director Miller as Vice Chair to serve on that 2x2 with me. So, thank you all. Just wanted to make that announcement. I believe they're appointing 2 members tonight at Yolo Bus. Thank you. And without any other items, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.